Hello and welcome into the Bradley Men's Basketball pregame show with Larry Larson and Mitch Kaminski. I'm Joey Wright. And guys, taking a look at the Southern Illinois series coming up, it comes at an interesting time, to say the least, for the Braves. It's been a tough stretch of late, but we'll dive right into it. Going to be an interesting one against the Salukis this week.
Yeah, Joey, I think a lot of people are looking forward to this one. Obviously, it's been a tough stretch for the Braves and their fans, 6 straight losses, but I think Southern Illinois is the right opponent. They're who you want to be playing this weekend. Lower tier in the Valley this year. They've had their own struggles, their own 6-game losing streak. So I think it's going to be a fun series to watch.
Interesting enough, this is the 100th meeting between the two all time. So big 100. So this should be a good one. Both teams hungry, too, because they're both coming off some losing streaks. So this should be a dogfight. So I'm looking forward to a good game because both teams really need a win in conference.
Now, before we move on, it's been a while, guys. Good to see you.
I was going to say, we'll come back to that at the end of the show. Yeah, we come to you socially distanced, Renaissance Coliseum, home of the Bradley women's team. Yeah, it has been a while. As we haven't done one of these this semester, I don't believe.
No, I don't think we have.
Yeah, nothing more to add there.
That's all Mitch has to say about that. In fact, this is the first one we've done in person since before the season. I believe the two we did once the season was underway, because they would have been after Thanksgiving, so those were well socially distanced, I should say, from home, our respective homes. Good to be with you here, Renaissance Coliseum, Peoria, Illinois. And Larry, as you said, we'll get back to the Southern Illinois matchup in a little bit, but let's recap things. The Braves, 3-7 in conference play. They've played 10 games. It has been a conference season that was plagued at first by a couple of COVID issues, a couple of postponements, 3-1 start, and then 6 losses in a row. It's been peaks and valleys in the Missouri Valley Conference for the Braves.
Yeah, it's 2020 and 2021 in a nutshell. You're going to have postponements, you're going to have delays, and that has certainly not played to the Braves' advantage or anybody's advantage overall. I mean, they've had a really tough stretch. Over this losing streak, they've gone, days or even close to a week at a time without a practice, just because, the game schedule where you only have 1 or 2 days off between games, that makes things difficult. And I know that, Brian Wardle has talked about how players need a break. And so it's tough to practice every day when you don't have a game, especially when the games are so tight together. So that's definitely made things difficult.
Yeah, and given the circumstances, we knew there was going to be some growing pains with this roster just because a lot of them are new. They haven't played basketball in a while. But, I don't think the talent on this team reflects their record. Like, if you were to tell me they were going to be 9-10 at this point in the season, I would have said you were crazy. And, obviously it's not ideal, but if you're going to struggle, it's better to figure it out now and then start playing well down the stretch, because we know they're not getting an automatic bid. So this is a good time to try to string some wins together, because it's not about who you play, it's when you play them. So hopefully the Braves get hot at the right time. Now, how do you do that? I think offensively, let's be honest, there's been some struggles. This team lacks an offensive identity. There's not a whole lot you see them doing well. But defensively, there's been some positives, and I think you just start getting to the free throw line a little bit more. They're 7-1 when they have more free throws than the other team. So attack the tin, get to the free throw line, and with their defense, this team's fully capable of making a run come tournament time.
I will jump off that free throw point. They've been sending the opponents to the free throw line primarily so much, and that's, I think, been the defining stat of the losing streak, is just sending opponents to the free throw line. They've struggled a little bit on defense, but that happens again when you can't practice between games. It's a struggle. So I think a lot of guys are just trying to adapt to that. And if there's one thing about Brian Wardle's teams, is that they can play defense. They know how to defend. They're a defensive identity heavy team. So once they find their footing a little bit more on defense, they'll be good to go.
Mitch, you alluded to this, the Braves, the talent level on this team, probably not indicative of their record. Larry, the 6-game losing streak has largely come with the Braves at very diminished power. Ari Boya, Jashawn Henry missed a couple of games. Ari Boya is still out. It hasn't been the full Braves team, and especially when we look at the loss of Henry. I mean, he is such a glue guy, such an important piece for the Braves off the bench. They've looked a little better since he's been back. But when he was gone, those first couple of games, Illinois State, Loyola Chicago, it was tough sledding.
Yeah, we talked about it, Joey. You don't really realize how big of a piece he is until he's missing. Yep. You said it. He's the prototypical glue guy. He'll go in there, do the dirty work, grab the offensive rebounds. He'll take on anybody. He's 6'6". He can take on 7-footers. So he's just a guy that you love to have coming off the bench, an energizer bunny, so to speak. So they certainly missed him, and you could tell he was a spark when he came back against Valpo, and they almost beat him.
Yeah, he knows how to play the game. He's always in the right position. He's very smart out there, and that's something you need because the Braves have really struggled because, like you said, that when they foul teams too much, they're 2-9 when the other teams shoot more free throws than them. So, and then they turn the ball over a little bit late in games. So those things, when you have those veterans that have been around and they know what they're doing out there, that's going to help them down the stretch. So hopefully, once the Braves start getting back to full capacity, I guess, and healthy 100%, that's going to help turn things around here too.
And you can't look past the loss of Ari Boya, too. That kind of stretches them a little thin at the 5 spot, so kind of leaves some gaps down low for the Braves to fill.
One bright spot, though, I think Elijah Childs has really he's had a phenomenal season here. He's been all as advertised coming in. We knew he was going to be he is the best player on this roster, and he's lived up to it. I think he's done his fair share of the work offensively. He's leading the team in rebounds as well, so I am very happy to see that. So hopefully that continues and we get a couple more role players to step up here.
And, Joey, one more missing player, Kevin McAdoo, returning to the team for this weekend. I'm excited to see him play. We'll get to more of that later, though.
We certainly will, and we'll get to the Valley in just a second. But I said the Braves were a little stretched thin at the 5 without Boya, but Rink Mass looked good last week. Career-high 17 points entering the series coming up here against SIU. So Mass has been very key for the Braves. Stroking
it well behind the arc, too, and knocked down 2 3-pointers that last game. So that's that's a positive to see. He's exceeded expectations for me, so if he keeps that going, the Braves are going to be in good shape.
Yeah, he got off to a little bit of a slow start, but now he's starting to pick it up. You can tell he's very comfortable on the court, and I think he could be a piece long-term for the Braves that, he could find himself on an MVC first-team list his senior year.
Dropping him in like Mitch Kaminski from beyond the arc. How about it?
Let's hope not.
Guys, we look at the Missouri Valley Conference now. The Valley has been, you look past Bradley, it's been a bit of a weird conference this year. Drake, Loyola Chicago at the top. Evansville is in 3rd right now. Wouldn't have thought we would have been saying that a year ago. And then at the bottom, you've got a lot of good teams. Bradley is down there, Northern Iowa. They're missing A.J. Green, but they've struggled quite a bit. It's a topsy-turvy Valley in 2021.
Joey, I've just had a lot of fun watching it. Drake, we didn't see them coming when I predicted the standings before the season started. I think I picked Drake 6th. You knew they had talent, but you just didn't think that they were going to have this much talent and put it all together, especially after losing Liam Robbins.
Yeah.
It's insane what they've been able to do. Loyola Chicago is as advertised. I picked them first, and I still think that they're the best team in the conference. And obviously, we'll talk about the Drake-Loyola series, which is impending 2 weekends from now. But it's just been a lot of fun to watch. Evansville is a feel-good story.
Yeah, I know Drake was one of the we talked about them the last pregame show we had, and it was one of those teams like, well, they kind of had a week out of conference schedule. Let's see what they do in conference play, and they've kept it rolling. So we'll see down the stretch. They got a couple big games against Loyola coming up, but they've been fun to watch, and I'm glad they got a ranking next to their name finally because they've deserved it with 17 wins.
No kidding.
25th in the rankings, as Mitch alluded to, and deservedly so. There are going to be people out there, of course, that would make the argument that they should even be a little higher. I mean, 17 or no matter who you play, impressive. But 25th, that 20 to 25 range, I think is fair, and it's good to see them rewarded for their hot start.
And I think Loyola should be up there in those ranking discussions.
Seth Davis agrees.
Yes, Seth Davis does agree. And looking at the metrics and the KenPom and all that stuff, Loyola is a lot more efficient than Drake, and they rank higher than Drake in a number of categories. But the big thing with Loyola is they've got some numbers in the loss column. That's the only reason that they're not ranked. They've beat everybody there is to beat in this conference. And so I think they could be in the rankings by the season's end, or they could be in the NCAA tournament.
I think that's fair. And Drake and Loyola Chicago coming up next weekend. That'll be the series to watch Valentine's Day weekend in the Valley. A quick preview of that because that's going to have a lot of eyeballs on it. Loyola Chicago receiving votes, they could sneak into the rankings by that point. I wouldn't say that's probably likely, but nevertheless, you're going to have a low 20s team, assuming Drake takes care of business this week, and a Loyola Chicago team that's right there.
Yeah, it's going to be so exciting. Both games on national television on ESPN, so that's appointment viewing for me.
For this series, I think it comes down to who has the best player on the floor, and I think that's Loyola and Cameron Krutwig, and he's been playing very well this season. So I think I'm going to give Loyola the slight edge, maybe knock him off, but it should be a very highly contested game. These are two fairly evenly matched teams.
It's going to depend a lot on what Evansville does against Loyola Chicago this weekend. That's a series that, you'd probably think Loyola has the upper hand in both affairs, but Evansville, feel-good story as you mentioned, they look good. It wouldn't maybe shock me to see them take one.
They need to come out and play their best basketball of the season if they want to win a game against Loyola.
Yeah.
But they've got the talent to do it. If they can hit from 3, who knows what could happen. They are the definition of live by the 3 and die by the 3. And at Bradley, they died by the 3, but they're playing at home, if I'm not mistaken. Evansville traveling, or Loyola traveling to Evansville. So on your home floor, who knows what could happen?
Yeah, it's all it takes. Loyola overlook them one game, and they get hot from behind the arc, and the next thing you know, Evansville's got a nice win under their belt. So yeah, it's very possible. Especially you lose that, or you win the first game, second game, you're coming out a little bit lazier. You look past them, looking ahead to the Drake series, and the next thing you know, you're caught with a loss. So we'll see what happens.
Certainly will be a lot of fun to keep an eye on. And in the series that you all care about, Bradley and Southern Illinois this week at home, Carver Arena. Braves, we talked all about them earlier, the 6-game losing streak. Southern Illinois bookended a 6-game losing streak of its own with a win in their first game against conference play and a win last weekend. You'd think the Braves have a good chance to get back into the win column this week. Of course, you got to play the games to find out.
Yes, I think so, Joey, but you never know with Southern Illinois. Last year they surprised a lot of people, but this year they've just been hit by COVID. They've been ravaged by it. Not to say that, players are struggling with health issues or anything. We don't know. We can't jump to any sort of conclusion, but their schedule has been demolished. They had, I think, almost 2 weeks off there at a point. So when you go 2 weeks without playing a game, that's so hard to bounce back from. So it'll be interesting to see. The one positive with that is Marcus Damask has been injured. We might see him this weekend. Who knows if he can bounce back?
Well, if he doesn't play, the key for the Braves is going to be slowing down Lance Jones, who's been their primary scorer this year. I believe he's leading the team with an assist, too, so that's an overall playmaker that you really need to slow down. But for the Braves, if they can score 65 points on offense, there's a good chance they're going to win this game the way they're playing. But unfortunately this year, like I said, they kind of offensively, that's kind of still a question mark whether they can do that consistently. So we'll see what happens. The guard play for them, if that's going to be key. I think the Braves forwards have been playing really well, and you've gotten some good play out of Terry Nolan has been playing. He's been playing pretty well. You've gotten some good play from him. Sean East has been up and down. I think he's distributing well. But if the guards can step up for the Braves, that's going to be the key for them in this one.
And I think it really just depends which Bradley team we get and which SIU team we get. We really don't know what we're getting out of the Salukis. And Bradley, they've had some time to practice now since Monday. So I think they're going to come out a lot stronger than we've seen them over this streak.
It almost seems too, and I don't want to harp too much on this. It almost seems like a cliche talking point at this point. But we mentioned the game's at Carver Arena, but not the Carver Arena of old. Bradley doesn't have the home court advantage there that you'd come to expect in recent years. The home team struggles a little bit in the Valley this year and across the country with no fans. But nevertheless, Larry, Bradley, they've had some time to regroup, being at home, sleeping in your own bed.
Oh, yeah.
It's always those intrinsic benefits to being at home, or inherent benefits, I should say. I like being at Carver if I'm the Braves this week.
Yeah, I agree, Joey. I asked Elijah Childs earlier this season, what is it about being at home? He said, I don't like the hotel beds. So safe to say he likes sleeping in his own bed, and the Braves probably play a little bit better at home. Obviously, last year that had to do with the fans and leading the Valley in attendance. You don't have that factor this year, but still, you don't have to travel. You don't have to sit on the bus for a few hours, and it definitely helps.
Sometimes there's little things like depth perception. You go to a different arena, the lighting's off, or the seats are closer or farther away, so that can throw you off a little bit. So I think being at home, they're used to shooting there. That should only help the shooting percentage.
Absolutely. Take a look at our picks to click. And, guys, I want to go first. I want to buck the trend. A Southern Illinois player to keep an eye on. I don't think he's going to play a ton.
Whoa.
I went to high school with Chris Cross, Urbana High School. He's a freshman at Southern Illinois, and he's my pick to click solely because we'll do this on another pregame show later on. And I didn't really notice this in high school. Chris Cross, a good kid. I knew him well. He's a great player. When he came to the Missouri Valley Conference, everyone's like, he's got the best name in the conference. That's got to be all-conference first-team name. So, maybe we'll pick that team later on, but he's got to be my pick to click.
Joey, I like that pick just because we saw him play last year. Good kid, good name, even better name. My pick to click is Kevin McAdoo. He's been away from the team for over a month now. He's been missing for the entire conference play. And we talked to Brian Wardle. I talked to Brian Wardle about it earlier this week, and he said, going into conference play, he struggled a little bit to start his Braves career, but he had a lot on his plate. He had a lot going on. Now that he's back with the team, I think, he's got the potential to have a little more clear headspace and focus on basketball. And we could really see him break out. Bradley struggled from beyond the arc, and I think he could be the spark that they need.
Yep. We talked about him earlier. I'm going with Mast. I think he's really starting to play with confidence. It took him a while to find his footing. Now that he has, playing with confidence is huge. He's been active on the glass, and he's kind of been a force inside. Now that they're going to have to, knocking him down from outside, which helps. So they're going to have to respect him a little bit more, and that's only going to help open up things down in the paint. So I'm going with Mast for this one.
I like that. I like the McAdoo pick. I really like the Mast pick, though. Coming in off the 17 points against Indiana State, had a good series in Terre Haute. Yeah, Mast is, and especially without Boya, he's really stepped up, and he does a lot down low that the Braves need.
And I will say another player to watch, perhaps not my pick to click, is Ville Tavanainen, another player who's been up and down, but I think he's found it lately. He looked a lot better at Indiana State, and he shoots a lot better at home. So if he can put up 14, 15, 16, maybe up near 20 points, I think for sure that's a Braves victory.
One of the things I liked what Tavanainen did against Indiana State, too, because he's usually known as like a spot-up shooter, a three-point shooter. The Braves weren't shooting it very well from three. He attacked the basket a couple times. There's a couple times you saw him driving to the lane, and even the announcer was like, whoa, hey, we weren't expecting that from him. So if he can do that consistently and add that other element to his game, that makes him an even more dynamic scorer.
Absolutely. Going to be fun to keep an eye on. Braves and Salukis at it Saturday and Sunday this weekend. And guys, 3 o'clock tip-off on Sunday. That is going to go right up to the Super Bowl. Let's finish with a quick Super Bowl prediction here from Larry and Mitch. I'm curious. Bucks and Chiefs, Brady and Mahomes. And that's going to be a fun one in itself. And I know Bradley's Nathan Bramwell excited to watch his Chiefs go for 2 in a row.
I'm going to have to go with the young guns, Patty Mahomes and the Chiefs.
I'm taking the Bucks. I mean, it's hard to pick against Tom Brady in a Super Bowl, but if you go through the top 20 players in this game, and I don't want to get too deep into it, I think the Buccaneers have more depth-wise. I think the Buccaneers are a little bit deeper, and you just knocked off a Hall of Famer in Drew Brees, a Hall of Famer in Aaron Rodgers in Lambeau. So I like the way they're playing right now. You got to be scared of a team that's just won 3 games on the road.
I just hope both teams have fun.
Yes.
Elijah Child's also rooting for the Chiefs, right, from Kansas City?
I'm sure he is.
Yeah, he's got to be. So that'll be a fun one to watch. Go Bucks. I'll go Bucks. I'll go with Mitch on that one.
Good pick.
But I hope
Good
it's
pick.
a good game. That'll do it for the pregame show in this one, guys. Joey Wright, Larry Larson, Mitch Kaminski. Glad you're in with us. Getting ready for Bradley and Southern Illinois. That'll do it for us today.